Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Keith Armour. I'm the Education and Homework Support Manager down here in the Adult Learning Center in the main library. Don't forget, our wonderful library system is open Monday through Saturday from 10 in the morning until 6 at night. And so drop by. We are allowing everyone to come in for up to 2 hours. You can print, you can copy, you can check out books, you can get information from us, you can use our technology. That's what's so important about our library system. You can still provide, we still provide drive-throughs and of course curbside service. But what's really exciting about this week is this past Monday, we reopened our Price Hill Library. And even though I would love to tell everyone to go and visit it, we're going to show you some resources on how to visit virtually. So check this out in just a moment. But before that, we want to go back in time a little bit and talk about how a lot of our libraries in our system um, were put out there, were created by a wonderful grant provided by Andrew Carnegie. And so we're going to talk about the remaining Carnegie libraries that we have, and then we'll talk about the wonderful renovation of Price Hill. So let's dive in because there's a lot to talk about.
We've had such an exciting week with the reopening of our Price Hill Library. I thought it would be really good just to kind of go back and look at the Carnegie libraries that have been and continue to be part of the Cincinnati-Hamilton County Public Library System. So this is a rare thing, but what is wonderful about our library system, we have what's called the digital library collection. And this is actually in our collection. This is a letter from Andrew Carnegie himself, written back in April of 1902. Even saved the envelope. I love that part. But he was writing to the director of the Public Library of Cincinnati, and this is how he would operate. And if you read the letter, it basically says he's willing to put up some money as long as Cincinnati would find the sites for the libraries and also provide the maintenance and upkeep and stocking of the materials that would go into these libraries. And he was willing in 1902 to donate $180,000. Now, $180,000 seems like a lot to me now, but if you put it with today's dollars, that basically works out to be about $5.5 million that he was willing to put up. And it wasn't just for Cincinnati. There are 2,509 Carnegie libraries that were built between 1883 to 1929. And it wasn't just public libraries, there were also university systems as well. And a whole list of countries. The bulk of the libraries, of course, were in the United States. But then he did come from Ireland, so he did contribute to United Kingdom and Ireland and Canada, and the list goes on. Now, in our system, we had actually 9 total Carnegie libraries. The first one was built in 1906, and the last one was built in 1913. Now, this is the first one. It's Walnut Hills, and you recognize it because it looks pretty much the same right now from when it opened in 1906. Now, this is the children's room. Now, the children's room is what we now call the children's department or the children's area. Probably it was a little bit different back then. A lot of hush and quiet. And you can see the librarian that's there, just making sure those kids are reading. But now our libraries are a little bit livelier than they have been in the past. This is an example of the stained glass that is there at the Walnut Hills branch. Here is the main circulation desk at the Walnut Hills branch. So you would have people, patrons or customers who would come up and receive information. And this is, of course, you don't see a computer there at all. You don't see even a telephone. I don't even see a telephone in the picture. So that was at the Walnut Hills branch. And I know this isn't olden times, but this is 1996. This is pretty recent, but you gotta love this picture. Obviously, they're in the children's area, and look at all those smiles. I just could not resist putting that picture in. Now, currently, we are over, Walnut Hills branch is over currently at 961 East McMillan Street, and the reason being is that we are renovating the Walnut Hills branch. We purchased some land right next door to the Walnut Hills, and you can see that Walnut Hills it's going to look a lot like the same, except back when it was first created in 1906, but it's going to have a lot of great features to it. So keep your ear to the ground, because there's going to be a lot of updates throughout the year, and it will open up right around this time next year in early 2022. So keep that in mind. So that was the first one. Here's the second one. There's a series that came out in 1907, but this is the East End, and I know you're thinking, I didn't realize we had a library branch over there. Here's a wonderful picture of some librarians there, and here's a card that was put out, and we have that part of our digital collection as well, and that is the opening and exercises. Wednesday evening was intended for adults only. All departments of the East End branch will be open Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. So they opened at 8, and they made sure that Wednesday evening was just for adults. Kind of like the adult swim at the swimming pool. Now, this is a really neat feature that our genealogy and local history put together a great display. I think it was last year or possibly the year before. I've lost my train of thought sometimes, but it's the lantern screen. And this is a collection of lantern slides. And the slides, it literally is a lantern that would project these different slides. And these different slides would feature, local interests, which science, travel, and architecture, art. And the library actually owned over 45,000 slides, and it was very, very popular. I mean, think about it. There was no computers, there were no projectors, there was no television, no internet. So this was cutting edge technology. And that's still part of our digital library collection. You can look at some of the old slides that were part of this lantern slide collection. Now, the East End branch is no longer a library, but thank goodness this beautiful building is still in the community and is now the Carnegie Center of Columbia, Tusculum. Now, I'll provide a link for you so then you can visit. They do some wonderful programs, and check that out, okay? Now, this is the Corryville. This is one of my all-time favorite branches. This is another one that opened in 1907. It is referred at the very beginning as North Cincinnati branch. Eventually it changed to Corryville, and you'll notice the number right up there underneath where it says number 891. That's the 891st Carnegie Library, and it was right there in Corryville, Cincinnati. And so that opened in 1907. And I can't believe this was part of our digital library collection, but this is a picture of opening day. And the picture quality is just unbelievable. And you can see how everyone is dressed. And it just, I just thought that was an amazing picture that's part of our collection. Here's an interior shot, and you'll notice that it has a dome shape right here, and when it was renovated, they made sure that the dome was still there, and it's still as beautiful, I think, as probably back in 1907. But when you go to that branch now, it's still got this beautiful dome and a lot of great wood there, and the outside looks almost the same. Look at it. The outside looks just gorgeous. So definitely check out Corryville. And then you've got the Norwood branch. And the Norwood branch, I love this one. You've got the buggy and the horse out there. This was also built in 1907. And this is part of the opening day program. So you have a prayer, an opening address. You have the report from the secretary, and then you have a couple of dignitaries giving an address, and then you have the benediction. So that's part of the dedication exercises for the opening day of Norwood's Carnegie Library. And this is a picture of their children's room and those huge ferns. And they look like they're very quiet reading in there. And then, of course, you've got the librarians here. And this was made right around 1940. And this is what Norwood's branch looks like today. And then the next branch, we started building them in 1908. And this is one of the buildings that was built in 1908. This is Northside. Now, I want you to look at the very expansive front yard of Northside, because if you know Northside, it's right there on Hamilton Avenue. And well, I'll show you the picture in just a second. This is another picture. Apparently they had some film. This is also dated 1940, and they're putting up a holiday tree. And this is the branch now, and you'll notice that it says Cummingsville, because this was, when it was first built, the Cummingsville Public Library, and then it eventually changed its name to Northside, but it still bears it right there on the facade in the front. But notice there's no big expansive yard anymore, lawn, because of Hamilton Avenue. So that's another one of our Carnegie libraries. Now, this is one that was in West End. It was built in 1908 as well, along with Northside, and it was actually demolished in 1947. So it did not have a very long life, but look at that main room of West End. I mean, think about the woodwork that is there. It's just a shame that it was actually torn down. It was torn down. You can still look at the plans and the specifications for the Dayton Street Public Library of Cincinnati. We have that part of our digital collection. There's the blueprints that are on there. And this is the picture of 924 Dayton Street. And so the library is no longer, this is a newer building here, but this is the spot where the library was, that beautiful library. So we have to really, each generation has to protect libraries, and they have to make sure that they are around for the future. And when you look at that beautiful interior of the West End branch, you're thinking, gosh, where did that go? Now, this is Hyde Park. It opened in 1912. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, that doesn't look like Hyde Park. Well, that's because this is before the renovation in 1970. So from 1899 to 1911, the services for the library for Hyde Park was actually through delivery. Talk about curbside now. Well, this was at a drugstore. So you would go to the drugstore to get your books. And then they built this wonderful branch in 1912. And this is what it looked like. And then in 1970, it went through renovation. And so they added some great things. They added a fish pond and a hand-painted mural. But it did lose that French Renaissance facade. And it was replaced with this two-story portico. So it looks a little different. Here's a great picture. I don't know who caught the wonderful fish up there, but here's some librarians, and there's that roll of film in 1940 again. And this is what the branch looks like now. Now, the next one is 1913, and this is Avondale. This was the last library that was funded by Carnegie funds, and it was the Avondale branch, 1913. Here is the interior room, and it still looks a lot like this. It was renovated a couple of years ago and added an elevator and all sorts of great features. It's beautiful inside. Check it out, especially the entrance. There's an entrance that has um, all of the names of very famous people. I actually even have a um, a painting at my house that has the facade. It's beautiful tile. Check that out. I wish I would have included that picture here. Here is, of course, the last of the 1940 film, and of course they must have been making the rounds for the holidays. But that fireplace is still there at the Avondale branch. And there's what the Avondale branch looks now, but you can also enter it. It is ADA accessible on the side with a beautiful elevator and some other great rooms to that library branch. Now, I went out of order because, of course, 1909 was Price Hill. And this is the Price Hill branch. And here's a beautiful photo of the entrance and some girls looking like they're ready to get into the library. And here is the interior of the library. And, you know, you have the service desk. The service desk was like that for such a long time, even up until there was some water damage that caused the library to close. And then now we are opening the library up again. Here are those wonderful, huge windows. And you can see the staff that are very proud of the library collection that is up there. And then here it is today. Now, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to switch out and show you a few things that I'll provide for you. All right. All right. The Carnegie Library, Price Hill. So obviously, I would really want to tell everyone right now to get out, get in the car, drive over, and check out Price Hill. But we really want the community right now and the Price Hill community to really start enjoying their library again. And because of our limited accessibility and everything, we put together this information. Lisa and Kelly put all of this information so you could virtually visit this next generation library without leaving your house at all. This library was built, like I said, in 1909, using Carnegie funds, and now using local support funds. We were able to add close to 7,000 additional square feet, make it accessible to everyone. There's a wonderful elevator that will take you to the second floor. And talk about designated quiet areas. There are areas for children and teens and adults. On the second floor, there is a really neat adult reading area that has comfortable chairs, that has all these glass windows. It's a very light-filled library. And one thing about the old Price Hill Library before it was renovated, it had a tendency sometimes to be a little bit dark. But there's also a bilingual approach. There's a big Spanish-speaking individuals that live in Price Hill now. So there's a lot of bilingual signage that's there. There's also definitely increased parking. That has always been a concern up there. And of course, we're building for the future. So there's things that have been put in there that will help continue and live up to the name, the next generation library. So trying to think ahead, not just our needs for today, but also for the future. So you can, they've put together 3 wonderful videos here. This first one is a virtual visit where you can actually, a wonderful person takes you through the library and shows you the different areas. And then of course, you always love to have dignitaries to come by and check out the library, and they do the ribbon cutting. But what's also great about this video is they give their first impressions about what they've seen. And it is just incredible. That's a great video to watch. But this is my favorite one. Of course, the library was closed because of some water damage, and it was a great opportunity for us not only to jump the line with our renovation, but this video shows you the water damage, and then it shows you the wonderful work that happened in 2020 and then the early part of 2021. And up into the time it opened up. So I highly recommend that you check out these 3 videos. Now, if you're wondering about what's going on in our library system as a whole, there's the facility master plan right here. And it's really well written. It is looking for the future. So it was started in 2019, and the master plan takes us all the way until 2028, and we're being transparent. We want to have a real customer focus, and you'll see that at the Price Hill Library. You'll see that it was very community driven. That's the reason why in the main room of the original building, they created 2 community conference rooms, huge conference rooms, but that was something the community really needed because there wasn't that type of space in that area of Price Hill. And of course, this is going to be free for the library community up there. So it's very important to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and so that's what lays out in this facility master plan. And of course, you can provide us some feedback on the master plan here. And another thing I want to point out on this website is right here, the Next Generation Library. And it will go over, it's a little bit more user-friendly here, but they'll answer some frequently asked questions. And of course, the Price Hill Library branch is open, but you can look at current projects. So here's capital maintenance projects. They might not be as flashy, but they're very important. Like at North Central, the HVAC system needed to be replaced and lighting, and that's very important. Not only for that community, but for any person that wants to use that library. So there's all that information about life cycle replacements. And then there's capital repairs where you're having to, waterproof the Avondale branch, and some unplanned repair that happened at the Anderson branch. So Avondale and Anderson, Pleasant Ridge and Northside. And then branch refresh. It's always nice to get new furniture, but when you get new furniture and paint and carpet, that makes the library seem a little bit more up to date. So that's what happened to a lot of the branches here in 2020. And then you've got design projects. Of course, you have Price Hill. That's renovated. Currently, they're working on Walnut Hills. And you can learn all about the Walnut Hills project here by just clicking there. And it'll take you right to the Walnut Hills project. And they'll even start showing you more and more pictures. And this is something they discovered. They didn't realize that there was this a tile that was right there. And so they discovered different things. Oh, here, that's a much better picture of the tile right there for original part of the building. You can keep up to date on that construction project. And if I go down here to design projects again, sorry, I have to jump out. You got the Madisonville project. You can keep up to date on that. And they're holding some meetings, listening sessions, and all of that were here in 2019. And then, believe it or not, later on this year, the Deer Park will open up, and it's going to be one of our largest libraries in the entire system because it's going to be 25,000 square feet. So you can click right here, and they're going to be opening maybe July of this year or August at the latest, but they're renovating an old department store, and they're moving in, and it's just going to transform. And this one actually has a 3D immersive 3D walkthrough, so you can check out to see what that looks like. But here are some pictures, and that's what it looks like now. but they're working, and they have a great branch already, and 25,000 square feet. It is just going to be phenomenal over there. And it's part of the former TJ Maxx that was there. Now, but check that out. I mean, there's just so much on this Next Generation Library website, and you can check out all different projects that are happening. Okay, before I forget, I want to show you a couple of things that are happening. Don't forget the Sharonville Community Art Show is still going on. You've got a lot of story walks that are happening because the weather's getting better. So you'll see some story walks in your branch. And Mumford Heights already has one out. You've got a virtual creative writing group. You got a virtual book club. You've got, there's the story walk again. You got donate days at the distribution center, and that's to help support the Friends of the Public Library. So you can donate, used books, CDs, DVDs, that kind of thing. And then that actually, those items get sold, and that supports programs at the library. Let me show you one more, and that is this coming Saturday. It is our community plant and seed swap. So you want to check that out. You can bring your plant or seeds in a container. You want to label them as best you can, and you want to make sure they're pest free. You don't want to contribute to any pests. You don't want to, if you find any spiders in there, you don't want those in there. And then of course you want to wear masks. We're going to be socially distanced, but that's going to take place at the downtown library at the main branch from 2 until 4 this Saturday. All right, I'm going to click out and tell you a few more things.
Right. So if you haven't yet, definitely check out those videos so you can virtually visit the Price Hill Library. There's still so many programs that are still going on. Don't forget about our 23rd annual poetry in the garden. It's virtual again. It is next Tuesday, the 20th from 7 to 8. There's plenty of seats still available, so you can continue to celebrate National Poetry Month, which is April. And then there's a really cool thing called the virtual teen trivia challenge, and that is taking place actually from May 19th all the way until the 25th. And it's focused on Earth Day, which is coming up next week. So check that out on our website as well. We are so happy to still be providing all of this service and all of these things that are happening to our library throughout this crazy time. And we look forward to seeing you. And I look forward to seeing you next week for Lunch and Learn. Thanks. Bye.